Concom meeting,
I think we can oh, is that Scott?
2 people entered the waiting.
My nephew's trying.
The view and
Oh, good.
you, and then
So
admit,
I don't know if he-
and admit, and who's
Yeah.
this?
That's, yeah. Yep, oh,
Sure. What happened to the camera? Why is it way over there?
is that the end of every agenda?
Oh, I think you gotta change the camera. Oh, I hit the top button.
Seven two one oh one 4 2.
Yeah.
But Sean said maybe I have to dial a 1 in front of it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
did you dial 603?
And like I said, somebody.
Camera's still on.
That's
One.
weird.
So I thought, well, maybe I would. I'll have to send you the test one.
Yeah.
I
I thought we did that a while back too. I don't know if I can see it, I realized I've got my long glasses on, I won't see what it's like.
Well, I'm not a great note taker, but I'm going there. Yeah. Hey, good, how you doing?
Another beautiful day. I went up and tried to pop that lock earlier. It's
And what is it?
complicated for kicking, so I didn't cut it yet, but I wanted to ask tonight if we should just. cut
I'm
it.
trying to figure out what it's looking
We
at.
could talk to Ken.
Oh, is it?
And I tried 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's using something down here.
It's what is that shadow? It looks like a cable.
Does anybody know who put it on?
Hold on.
Oh, look at this.
Ken, would-
These are all black. That's what we-
About 10.
Ah,
Oh, sorry, can you spin it?
Do we want to?
How do-
Yeah.
I don't want to screw up the moments.
Yeah.
But that's.
Perfect.
Really?
All right, we're good.
So.
And the motor never
So,
worked again.
remember, I got permission to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record.
Yeah.
They told me to do that.
It'll be reflected in your next tax statement.
All right, let's see.
So we have.
Not working.
You know,
On you.
I'll.
I want to make sure I'm thinking, because I got permission to do it.
So Scott is there, but his mic isn't.
He's good, he said he was gonna call on the phone.
He's on.
Yeah,
Oh, he was
okay.
gonna call.
No, he's gonna call the Zoom phone number,
Okay,
so that's probably what he's
So
done.
he's on his phone.
Yeah.
probably.
but he's muted or
The
something.
Yeah.
camera on, people can watch this on the.
Yep.
The link.
Yeah, or you could just call in and listen, right, there's a phone link.
Where's the link?
It's in
It's at the
underneath the
bottom.
password, it's in the same.
It's at the bottom of the agenda.
Oh, okay.
He
Yeah.
just adds.
I'm gonna tell my girlfriend there's a link at the bottom of the agenda if she wants to watch us in action.
Well, if Scott is driving and he doesn't have anything to say right this second. then,
Okay,
that's-
he's driving, then he's not gonna be able to conduct the meeting. Is that,
No, right, yes.
He-
So-
okay? Okay,
Sorry, Sean. Yeah.
okay. Let me see if I can get the agenda then. So it's 6:05. We'll bring the meeting to order.
I'm just trying to find my minute.
So just to let you know, my son Greg said he could hear this, so.
Oh, good.
Good.
So,
He's
so,
100 and something miles away.
so it's working. Good. Good. Okay, so
I have a print copy if you want.
Well, I know
It's kind of old school.
the problem I'm having is I had my eyes dilated this morning and they're still dilated, so I'm just kind of
So-
struggling to see the screen. So I'm gonna see if I can get it.
Well,
to
it's a
work.
good thing the meeting's being recorded.
the agenda says we'll do the minutes after the
Right.
Fisk Hill
Yeah.
Conservation Project.
Exactly.
Okay, so,
So you can call the meeting.
I did
Oh, you did, sorry.
at 6:05.
6:01, thank you.
So Chris Wells, you are, you're up.
Okay, I guess I'll just pull the chair up.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, yeah. I mean, That's fine.
Camera.
you don't, yeah, well,
You want
You
to
want
sit
to
there?
sit right?
you can sit up here.
I'd rather be able to look.
Yeah,
I'd rather
yeah.
the other way around. All right, so first thing, and I'm actually being kind of old school too. This last time with the West property. Actually.
I can just hand it
I'm
down.
missing. Anybody else?
No.
You guys want to be interested?
Did you get one?
No.
You can go, okay, that's.
This is a very, absolutely, yeah, you want to. And then we'll do the same thing with some maps, not that you guys don't know what this is, but get it anyway. I think that should be 4 of those. And actually, just one on that, I've got a brand new newsletter, I'm gonna give you some. Because I've got on.
Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Let's see.
You can have these electronic, things that you can send me afterwards.
Dude, it's actually right on our website.
Oh, it is, okay.
I'm happy to send it to you. You
Oh,
can-
I'll look for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, so nice to see you all again. I'm starting to feel like a regular.
That's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
not a bad thing, yeah.
So I don't probably tell you a ton about this project, and I mean, you all have been talking about it for quite a while already. And of course, my readers are over there, so let's see if I can read this stuff. So basically, I am here to talk with you about the possibility of trying to actually go ahead and get a conservation easement done on Sharon and Kim Fisk property, the 180 acre piece, a couple mile away from here. And again, essentially, this is, it's a big square, 180 acre forested property that encompasses probably about 2/3 of Fisk Hill, including the top of Fisk Hill. It's got a little piece of Temple Brook that runs along one edge of it. What else? And again, for anybody who on the screen or whatever who don't know about the area, it also abuts many hundreds of acres of conservation land that are just on the other side of the town line in Wilton. They put field tracks. And there's a couple of other smaller, one easement and a state flood control property that are also immediately adjacent to the property. So it's in sort of the bigger picture, this is really arguably one of the final and most important puzzle pieces in the whole mosaic of conservation lands that basically are sheltered forest field tracks. That whole block that straddles Temple and Wilton. So I think you guys know all this already and why it's so important. But anyway, and so clearly you all and Fisk have been speaking about this for however many years or months or years. Basically, we're at a point where this project could go forward in the next year or so. And I think kind of what the bottom line is I'm heading for is, and the budget is already here. For this project to really go forward, the Conservation Commission is going to need to commit essentially I think I understand that the lion's share of existing conservation funds to make it happen. We're basically round numbers talking about $190,000 total costs. 135 of that at the cost of the easement itself, which would be a bargain sale or bargain purchase. The Fisks have had an appraisal done on the property that came in, I believe it was at 190,000, so they would be selling these for 135. That is a $55,000 discount from the appraised value. And then the balance of that is essentially the cost of getting the whole thing done. The biggest single sort of other hard cost is the cost of the survey, which is going to come in somewhere around $30,000. We've got essentially a proposal contract ready to sign to do that survey with Sanford Surveying and Engineering. Their number is about 28, but it's sort of within a range, and it may go up a little higher. So for now, I'm essentially rounding to 30 and saying that's probably about what it will end up being. And then the rest of it is essentially the cost for our staff to do the project, that is manage the whole thing, easement drafting, all the project management, environmental assessment, which we generally will do in-house on a property unless we find, if we find something, we will then go out and hire professional engineers, or whatever, to dig stuff up, whatever, that's a rare occurrence. So we do the environmental assessment, to do the baseline documentation report, which I think you've all familiar with that. That's actually a fair amount of work. So that $10,000, that's from the sort of a schedule that we have that looks at sort of historically how much time we would typically spend on different sort of classes of projects. This is actually sort of towards the lower end. It's not the cheapest of the cheap, but it's about the sort of the second tier, and it should be about right. Stewardship legal defense, an earlier version of this budget you may have seen had that at 10. It actually came down a bit once we actually did our official kind of matrix that we go through to figure out what the number should be. Survey, we've already talked about. Legal, title, closing stuff, that those are all estimates, but they're small, and they're give or take $100 or $200. That's where they're gonna land. And then the last piece, miscellaneous printing, pilot. Most of that is just, it's an estimate, but that's assuming we're gonna be doing some local private fundraising. You all just saw the one that we did for the West property where we did the postcard to everybody. So that's what that is. It's essentially some of the money we would have to spend to try to raise some private funds to help make it all happen. So that's it. That's the detail on the budget.
Were you able to raise money off that,
We did, yeah, they, because I mean, you all came in, that was $30,000, you got like half. And we literally, I mean, it was down to the wire, but we raised just a little over the other 15.
Okay.
It was actually really cool. I don't know if any of you were at all involved with the Friends of the Walk Pack group. So that got the postcard somehow or whatever got on their radar. They reached out to us, and then they sort of basically sent it out to their membership. So we had this whole flurry right at the end of Friends of the Walk Pack.
It's great.
Yeah, it was a nice way to end the year, that whole thing, and we got it done. So long story short, yeah, so what I'm thinking, and part of this is, so will you see, I'm basically saying, make this thing go, would be $150,000 from the Temple Conservation Commission Fund, which is, I think, a big chunk of what you have. And then we would go out and raise, let's round that to $40,000. As I've said I know I've said to Scott Hecker recently, we were talking about catching up on things. I said, look, our goal would be to see if we can do better than that, but that is what I feel comfortable committing to. And so I can commit to the 40, if you guys commit to the 150, we know we have the money to do this. If we raise more money, then great, that's less than you have to take in, but I can't say, oh, don't worry, I'll go find it.
Yeah.
I can say, I'll go find 40 and I'll try to find it. That's my pitch.
Yeah, I was talking to Scott earlier today. He seemed to think that we soft committed to like 135 to the easement purchase.
Yeah,
So,
Which is what the easement purchase is.
right. But I don't really remember any of that. Do you remember any of that in the minutes?
yeah, I don't know if we documented.
Yeah,
I don't, because it was just such an initial,
conversation.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
okay.
Didn't.
So if we
I-
assume that we kind of did an initial planning of 135 now, what you're kind of proposing is we bump it to the 150.
Which is essentially the full cost of the even, this is just reminding me of this, the way I'm sort of viewing this partnership would be, you guys pay for the purchase of the even 135, and we go Dutch on the survey, assuming it's 30, so 15 for you.
Okay.
And then we essentially cover all the rest of the farming costs, so we find the money to pay ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that's more than reasonable.
Yeah, I just worry about the timing of it all, because we have to jump through a few hurdles to release money and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
but I mean, we have a commitment to Monadnock for somewhere around 30.
Okay.
So we have to make sure we have that in reserve. And then, we have, and I think we have the 30 and the 150 we can manage. I know we have that. We have that in the fund, so.
Just a quick thing on the timing of this, I don't know how much money is potentially coming into the fund over the next few months, but the bulk of this money the 135 at least would not be happening until we're basically down in Clover.
Yeah. Right.
Which is roughly when
If everything went perfectly smoothly, I would hope we could, and I think we could potentially get it done by the end of this calendar year.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Okay.
it might slip a little beyond that. I think it's okay with these guys if it slip a little, but the goal would be to get it done this calendar year. That way, if they're gonna do anything with the donated part of it and the tax side, they can have it in this fiscal.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, is by the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
But anyway, so in other words, we're not having to cut a check for it.
Yeah.
Today.
Do we have a date for the survey? Did those guys give you a target?
They are basically, we essentially have them penciled in on a handshake basis
Okay.
as of now, pending the results of this discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys saying, yes, we're gonna commit or not.
Do they,
And they can get it done, I'm sure it's always threading a needle time wise, but they said they can get it done in time to stay on the schedule to get this done.
yeah, okay. But there's no down payment with them or anything?
Oh, yes, there is,
There, oh,
and
okay.
it's substantial.
For
So
the
that's,
survey guys?
yeah, and so actually that would be, and this is sort of like a detail level thing, if you guys decide this is what you want to do. But if we can figure, because we found out with West, you couldn't release funds until the thing was done in the executory interest.
Right.
If there was some way for us to figure out how to be going Dutch on that first down payment, that would be great for my cash flow, but that's a detail level thing that we can figure out if you decide you want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
But the bulk of the funds are, towards the end of the year.
yeah, I
Hey,
mean,
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
All right. I just wanted to say it's like a little bit of confusion. I had talked to Chris about the development rights plus half of the survey.
Right.
Yeah.
Paused.
okay,
Can you hear me?
yes.
yeah.
Can you hear us?
Does that sound right? It was like 155, I thought.
Well, yeah.
Well,
It's 150.
Yeah.
It's 100, the paperwork we have, Scott, is saying 150, 135 for the easement and then 15 effectively for the survey, which is split.
Okay.
I mean,
Listen, I'm at my destination. I got to go in and get set up.
Okay,
Do you guys have a quorum? right now?
we,
Yeah, we do.
we do.
Okay, just figured I just.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other question I need to hear before I go in this meeting?
We'll probably end up voting on.
Do you want us to vote tonight, Scott? Support,
I want you to vote on anything that matters to move things forward. That's all.
and 150 you're good with?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah, I think, again, we have a commitment to Monadnock. We have to make sure we have resources.
right,
to
so
pay that off. No.
we can support it. The timeline is questionable because we can't, we have to make sure we're not gonna commit to something we can't. We just we'll commit to it, we just can't be sure we had it done this year.
The timing, well, I think we can get it. We just have to make sure that we follow the process of go to the select board, asking for authorization to release. We vote as a commission to do something. We have to ask them for authority to release funds to do what we vote on, and
So we would just vote to move forward with it.
Yeah, okay,
And forgive me for saying.
No,
what I
please.
got is that, but to make a motion and vote on that motion to say, you hereby as the conservation commission commit up to $150,000 for this project.
right,
All in favor. Because again, I'm literally waiting to go into contract for a $30,000 survey, and I cannot and honestly won't. do
Right,
that
right.
Yeah.
Without some solid.
some commitment. Yeah,
I mean, you all are truly the backstop.
yeah,
Like I said, I'm gonna try to raise more money, but
so,
if I don't.
no, I understand. So is there any risk from the select board or anybody? Because this is a little big for us, but is there any risk where we could be ridden? And it doesn't matter, we could still vote in support of it and let any opponents come at us, but do you know of anything like?
Really, from my conversations with Barbara Richter, I mean.
We can do what we want.
Yeah, we just, we don't have this special powers thing, which was voted on in a lot of different towns. You were one of the authors of that legislation. So,
Yeah.
which allows Concom to just say, hey.
We can do what we want,
Right,
right,
go.
right.
So we have to go through some procedural steps select board authorization, and then we have to have a public forum. And so those would be the two steps. We go to the select board and they say, yeah, ask some questions, we explain it all to them. And then we do have to have a public forum before we can release funds.
Right.
So, so those would be the hurdles, but none of those hurdles prevent us as a commission from
Voting on it, yeah.
voting on it,
Okay.
supporting it, discussing it.
Moving forward.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
The only question would be, is it conditional when to move your ball forward
Right.
till the selectmen have approved and the
And-
public forum has happened?
Well, I mean, that's a honestly kind of a calculated risk. I mean, again, my best understanding, and it's always been a little gray around the edges for a lot of people, including town attorneys about this whole thing. But essentially, my understanding is that the Conservation Commission ultimately has people use funds. You decide, yes, we want to spend them on Y or Z. If you're gonna spend it absent a special thing that you guys haven't passed. If you're gonna spend it on a land acquisition, easement or whatever, the town has got to have some legal interest in that property, own it, hold the easement or hold an executory interest in somebody else's easement, which is what we did for West recently. So long as that the town gets that real estate interest, that's most, I think that is pretty much the purview the selectmen have. Right. So as long as they are presented with something that the town council says, yes, this is a good document, and yes, you get a legal interest, that's what they're saying yes or no to. I think that's
Yeah, so we
basically
would,
how it works. And then the public hearing is the last thing before the release of funds. And then if you did have somebody, whatever, people in town that's for whatever reason strongly objected, that could happen. But that's a fairly rare thing as long as.
But even that objection doesn't have legal
Right.
ramifications necessarily.
You can still say we're gonna.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we would structure that public forum as a public comment session, not a public decision making.
Yeah.
session.
Right, so your point is correct, that
Yeah.
you guys still ultimately have that.
Yes.
So with all those little caveats about how the process, I'm good.
Along with-
Supposed to say we're in front.
So we would do an executory interest document for the Fisk property as well.
Correct, and
Yeah.
this time, since we figured out after the fact that we had to do it, we did it after the
Yeah.
fact. This time, the executory interest will be just written right into the easement, so legal counsel will be another party.
Right, so for this, so the first step would be to have that document and present it to the select board.
That,
See, that's the
that-
chicken egg thing. We have to have something to go to them. Because if the way we did it last time with, we explained to them the Wells property, West property or Wells.
Yeah.
So the West property easement and the executory interest, and then when we had the document, they reviewed it and had their legal review it, and then they signed it and we went.
Right.
So that was like all congealed into one first step.
Right.
So
In this case, though, we're gonna try to do this. Now that we know that the town has to have a legal interest, because that was sort of the issue, there was a misunderstanding, we were sort of
Mhm.
playing catch up. Clearly after we had closed on the easement. So in this case, we want to do it sort of the
Part,
regular
yeah,
way.
part of the process.
Yeah, and so, but to your question, I mean, we're not gonna have an easement drafted for, it's not gonna be December, but it's gonna be a while.
right.
And that's not gonna be, oh yeah, I'll get you a draft, it will be drafted next week. It's gonna be, probably at least 2-3 months. from now.
Well, let me,
Because we're doing all this other logistical stuff in the meantime, like making sure the survey gets done, running title.
why
It
wouldn't
all
you,
sort of
why
happens.
wouldn't you just take for me, I'd take the West document and I put in the Fisk information in it, and I present it as a draft.
And attach it as an attachment.
And that's what I would do to the,
If, you know what I would say, well,
that's what I would do.
yeah, no, I hear you, so in the end, this easement for this property will look quite similar to the one. I'll take it back.
You don't have any
Take it
easement on
back.
that property.
No, I take it back, forget it. We own the West property,
Right,
he donated it to us outright, so I was thinking, oh, we didn't use it. So that's the answer, is that, we have a template that is our starting point. And there is certainly some fill in the blank stuff, But this is what I'm trying to get at, why it takes time, and you've probably heard versions of this from Annex or others. You know, you start with this template, but it's like a long menu of this section will be in this easement, or it won't be, depending on the circumstances. There's all kinds of back and forth with the landowners about each of those sections. There can be reserved rights that, okay, putting the easement aside, we want to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
It's a whole process to get these things drafted, which is why I'm saying I can't just say, oh, well, sure, we'll get to an easement quickly so that the selectmen can bless it early.
Well,
That's just not.
Yeah.
I need help with something. Executory document versus the easement, they're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
So
but
the
one's
easement's much more detailed, and I understand that will take time, but what is actually in the executory
It basically
document
says
other
if he
than-
goes out of business, the town owns the property.
That's the same, well, that was exactly what we did with the West property. And we,
Because you owned it.
correct, and so the short version of that is, you know, the conservation easement itself, which is many pages.
Yeah,
We as the easement holder are then responsible for upholding and enforcing if necessary, all those terms of the easement. The executory interest basically says that the town, in this case, the town of Temple, has as sort of standing essentially.
yeah,
To say, if, you know, and they would have to get the attorney general to agree, whatever, they could say, these guys are completely falling down in their responsibilities for upholding this easement.
Yeah.
We want to step in, and it gives you standing to say, we're going to step in and essentially take this easement over.
Yeah, okay, because.
but that's not a complex document though, right?
Oh, the executory easement language is relatively simple.
But that's all you need.
But it's like, oh, well, if that's the case, I see what you're. pointing
That's all you need.
Right,
Okay.
The approach to selectmen.
Right, they're not asking for the easement, they're just asking that they get executory interest.
The executory rights will be written into the easement, right?
That is correct.
So what what you're asking for is that paragraph or two.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
Okay,
and that's something
Right.
right in the easement process.
no, if that's what we're talking about.
I think-
yes, we can do
I
that.
think that's all that they are going to need.
Okay.
well,
And for them to be content, they're not gonna look over the easement.
They don't.
They have their-
And they don't want to, right, they don't want
They
to,
have us.
they'll
yeah.
send it to their legal.
yeah, yes, right,
Well, no, and still that, so forgive me, this is good. We're figuring out how to navigate. So that was my point, is because the whole easement is gonna, I'm sorry, you guys are out here, this is gonna run in 25 or 30 pages.
Right.
The executory interest language from the town is like maybe a page.
Right.
And a few references through the
And-
document. So that's what they want to see, and you wanted to share with them with that, like soon, say, hey, we've taken a vote already, say we want to do $150,000. We want to just essentially check in with
Right.
you all. That this is how it's gonna go, this is the language that's gonna be
Yeah.
included with the blanks filled in. That we can completely do.
Right, yeah.
and,
And it's different than the West property because they maintain ownership of their land.
No,
did-
well,
No,
oh,
no.
I'm sorry, yes.
The Fisk-
oh, yeah, the Fisks will remain there,
So-
yeah,
So it'll be slightly different than the West where you have ownership of that land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, so I think if we can have that conversation with them,
Yep,
then as we're telling them, you know, proposing this budget and what the plan is and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Then we could probably, and then I would, like we did at that meeting, you and I did, and we said to
Yeah.
give us contingent approval to release funds to do the half of the survey
Yeah.
or blah, blah, blah.
no, I think that sounds great. And, you know, that also gives you guys sort of a greater comfort level to do something staying to.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
is, not that I don't wanna get into the easement details, cause I remember what the Fisks said they wanted years ago, and maybe I'm not be surprised if it's much different, but, there will be public access.
Yes.
Right, I mean, that, it would be, generally, we don't give money to conserve something if there's not public access. It can be very contingent public access, you know, like for trails or whatever, you know, but as long as, that might be good to have in the executory document, just like the town has this, and
Anticipated restrictions or limitations.
yes, yeah, the public will have some level of access. It's not gonna be that, it's not gonna be restricted that public can't access.
I think we could talk to that. I probably wouldn't put anything in writing
I was gonna say,
until we have.
Tim, do you have all of that in your
Well,
head?
yeah, all that will be right in the 25 page.
In the easement, yeah, okay.
But if it's in your head,
All
then you
of
could
the-
come to the select board meeting
Oh, yeah.
and speak to it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Great.
I mean, that's fine, yeah, as long as, because that's kind of a given for the town to put money into something like this, but, and it's consistent with what we've done with other properties, you know, we,
If you had a summary sheet. With just a 1 page of bullets. And the executory document.
yeah,
Whatever that's called,
What I would.
then it can be entered into the minutes. And they know what they're signing up. for.
Yeah.
The
right,
problem with anything verbal is it's gone as soon as the echo goes away.
yeah.
Yeah,
I-
we gave them documents the last time.
Well,
But-
what I was gonna say,
You know.
what we could do is we can talk a little bit to make sure we're all on the same page, which I think we are already. But, and then add a little
Add to
word to
that.
this, and then you
Right.
can, that's select board, and you can
Yeah.
summary the budget and.
Because
I
that's what
think,
we
I think
gave,
that, yeah,
that's what we gave to them for the west property. We gave them this and your budget, not this was the budget and a map.
Right.
And we gave it to them ahead of time and said, this is what we're gonna talk about. And then we gave them a draft of the executory interest document. And explained to them what that meant. It was a easy, positive meeting. I
It
mean,
was, well, and we just did it, so.
Yeah,
Hopefully
right.
we'll have,
Right.
recollection, oh, yeah.
probably have the same select.
yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah. I think we still have the same three guys, right?
So while we're talking about public access, again, based on what Tim has told me and Sherry has told me previously, and it's just been repeated. I think that's, generally there's gonna be public access. I will say just for the record, and they've heard this already. The one thing that is a bright line no for us, and we've heard this on West too, is wheeled motorized vehicles.
Oh, yeah,
Now,
right, we're in line with that,
with
yeah,
stuff,
I mean-
trail work, that's its own thing.
right,
You reserve rights. But in terms of general, just people being on the wheel motorized, that's enough.
no, that's,
We try to see-
right, we're, yeah, and that's not. We would
Still want to visit snowmobiles as well,
Yeah, I mean.
as a yes or no.
Well, our thing with snowmobiles in general is, it's a lot like, I sort of took it from the Forest Society where I used to work, which is if it's a existing trail maintained by an organized club. Essentially, it's a yes,
Yeah.
pending, there's some kind of a management agreement or whatever. There's something right saying, you're gonna keep doing this.
Yeah.
But beyond that, if it's like, honestly, I was gonna say, there are on occasions other trails that aren't fitting that category, but they're very low use, kind of like, local side trail, whatever. If it's not if there's no major impact, we will, on sort of our own discretion, say that can continue. That's essentially how we're managing.
And they would know and they would write it into the easement, obviously.
Right, and actually, I don't know, we talking about, are there big closures?
No, but there are snowmobile trails right over on the
well,
hill track,
yeah,
just a little ways away.
Gotcha.
but I don't think any go even near Fisk Hill, right, of those trails, what were they called, the Snow Moles Club?
Side.
Oh, yeah, okay,
But that's something we can look into and work out.
I don't think we're gonna,
Just food for thought.
we're not gonna request that, I mean, as a Concom, I would be surprised, we're not gonna make demands about what you want other than
Want to restrict
public
it.
access, I mean, we're mostly looking forward to having people be able to just hike on property,
But that's all stuff we should think about when the easement's getting written,
yeah,
Yeah, and again, assuming we're all kind of gonna move forward on this, to the extent that you all have thoughts, any strong thoughts about any of this stuff, it would be good to hear them sooner than later.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we're all gonna end up being more or less on the same page to start with, but
yeah.
just, if there's anything we're gonna get jammed up on, I'd rather know it.
Yeah.
Know that sooner.
And it's ultimately up to the landowners.
The only thing that was different about the west was the parking, and I don't know, have you all even thought about that? Because it's landlocked, right? So someone would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They would
I
have,
mean, they could park at the dam. like-
They already parked across from us.
do they?
Yeah,
People park
we have
all
a
the time.
park.
We have a
parking
bridge,
area right
people
across
go
from
over there all the
ship.
time, so nothing's changing in there, guys.
Okay,
The guy that's been parking over there.
Really? Okay.
I don't know who he is. Somebody from Nashville. I think he's from here.
Now, are you gonna put you thinking about putting a kiosk at that spot or? Where,
I
what's,
haven't gotten that far.
haven't got that, but what, are you guys?
Okay.
Haven't got that, but
Okay, all right. I mean, that would be, I mean, that's my own personal feeling is that, you know, as we do these properties, we should let people know they're there.
it's a very good possibility if things, if it's gonna go through.
Yeah.
We could do that.
So, because I know you're not gonna do that at the west.
Because we don't have any apartment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, but
that's
even a
it.
sign, right? Did you put your signs up yet?
We've got our boundary markers up there
Okay,
now, I think.
okay.
Oops. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But for the time being, we're not putting a big sign out there.
Yeah.
In part because then we don't have a big sign, then there's nowhere to park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So. You know,
Yeah.
I hope that will evolve over time, like we'll figure something out, but for now. We're working with the parameters we were given.
So as a commission, are we comfortable taking something to a motion, not knowing what the limitations and use restrictions would be on the property? I mean,
Well, I think we were mentioning that we wanted to make sure we had the funds between the two.
yeah,
So if we have the funds between the two, yeah.
yeah, I think the funds are all there. The funds will be available to do it all.
Yeah, let's do it.
So independent of the logistics of getting it all released, so. I mean, I don't care about the limitations at this point. I mean, I'm more interested in the project as a whole.
I think we're gonna all, maybe you said, be on the same page.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue.
So how do we word it?
I would say, if we're done with questions and discussion.
Quick question, so before we can get the initial money for the survey, we have to have a public forum as well, right?
Well, what I would do after we vote, I would probably get a select board meeting on the
Okay,
agenda. Tell them what we did
okay,
and tell them that the survey's in play. And that we need to be able to release ahead of the forum some money to pay the survey. That's probably what I
Okay.
would do.
okay,
And if they say no, have your forum, then we have a forum and then we release the money. So,
okay,
but that's probably what we did it the last time. And Ken Case was like, hey, people did the work, pay them the money. It's like, yeah, that's how I think about stuff, but so we paid it. I don't know if you remember, were you there for that?
I
No.
don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were pretty clear. It's like, yeah, you've already had the survey done. We know you haven't done your public forum, but pay the people for the work they've done. And then.
oh,
go
that
ahead
was
and-
for the triangle.
Yeah, so,
Well, I mean, the town voted anyway
yeah,
to do that, so.
Okay. So that's probably how I would think about approaching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I just want to put it out there because I mean, if we were talking, a couple $1,000s, whatever, we would just float it. But half of a $30,000 survey is,
Yeah,
it's real money.
and they want
If
15,
we could do it together, or, in steps, that's better, but if you can't.
and that was their term, half down.
I believe it's gonna be half down, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most of the money for the thing is gonna get spent pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay.
we should all be surveyors.
Wrong line to work.
Still there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we comfortable now?
Yeah,
So I would motion that the Concom support the land protection project of the Fisk conservation easement to the amount of $150,000 as written in this proposal.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Hold on.
Aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Unanimous.
Awesome.
So, yeah,
And I'd just like to say thank you for considering conservation. Thank you for helping.
oh, yeah, to this family, thank you so much.
Anybody else in here realizes that picture right there is a view from the top of Fisk Hill.
oh,
That's great.
In 1859,
Oh,
Wow.
wow. That's good.
that sketch was done, and that monument you see front and center is still up.
Right,
Wow.
I think I remember that, yeah. Looks different now.
center of town.
So
You gotta take,
that temple
you
and
gotta take a
that-
real good look at it. You'll find the church and then you'll find the General Miller House. And there was a big barn next to the General Miller House in 1859. And the house I lived in didn't exist then. And so you really gotta look at it close, figure things out, that picture.
We should consider typing something up and putting it under it.
Exactly what I was thinking, we should have a plaque on it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
some of that,
Same if anybody knows
Yeah,
anything
we'll
about
use that
that where it was
flyer.
taken.
to raise money.
Yeah.
Picture of that, right?
Yeah.
Reduce that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Thank you.
we will pursue what we've discussed with the select board and,
If you
And-
want me to go to the selectmen's meeting with you. I'd be
yeah,
happy to.
probably, you
Good.
know, the Concom and you and Chris. You-
Yeah.
it always helps, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, just sort of early checking in, sounds good.
right, yeah.
We have to get on their agenda.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. You just,
Carol.
I usually just send an email to Bill and say, hey.
Yep,
can we
Okay.
get on the agenda, and he gives it to Carol, and Carol says, come in next Tuesday, you know. so-
Okay.
So,
Good.
when now, when do you think we should try to get on their agenda? When it, because you said, what'd you say they were gonna start? the
Only
surveys?
the executive interest though.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
if
yeah.
we're just, but if that's just essentially the template language, the generic starting point language, I mean, I've got that's easy.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
and then just to discuss about the public access to add to this.
Right, and we'll probably keep that fairly simple. and
Exactly,
Essentially say it,
Yes.
more or less everything is gonna be allowed on the property except for. Whatever, so we'll figure that one out.
You-
put that
yeah.
there, put it in.
Just saying, just the terminology, public access without getting into activities is fine. That doesn't imply do anything. It just means public will be allowed at some level to be on the property,
To be determined.
to be determined, the activity, yeah.
The next meeting.
Okay.
It's
Of
that far away.
May?
Yeah, they just should have had one last night, so. The second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday in the month.
Okay,
Well, maybe we should do it in June.
Well, I was gonna, if you don't wanna do it sort of sooner than later, I will make myself available for the May 28th.
Yeah,
If they've got room on their agenda, and if not, we'll go to the next one.
yeah, okay. You say we May 28th?
well, it's the second, fourth, is 14th and 28th, so it's this coming Tuesday. Which is
Oh,
too
yeah,
quick.
right, I
Which is
looked
too
at
quick.
the wrong thing, you're right.
Cause I have another meeting that's always.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He's right, it's the
Oh,
14th
next
and the
week.
28th.
Yeah, you're not gonna, next Tuesday seems too quick. 28th seems like a reasonable.
Yeah. See if we can get on their,
Yeah,
28th sounds
so, and you think you could have a draft of what that language would be?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
good. No problem.
Well, if you send me everything, I'll organize the select board meeting with these guys. I'll give them a pre-read and try to explain to them what we want to discuss with them and
Awesome.
we'll just go from there and just try to keep it moving. Make sense?
as far as I know, this is the largest conservation project acreage wise that Concom's been involved with, like directly, at least in my memory.
Wow.
I mean, we've done little stuff, and there's other people that did stuff outside of us, but this is the biggest, so this
Yeah,
is
It's
the
also
milestone.
A
It's
great
good.
puzzle piece in the
Yeah.
great scheme of things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, as a piece of conserved land, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if anybody has any questions to you guys for the money being spent by the town, we bought that property for $400,000. And we
Okay.
basically, just giving it rights to the town, so.
Mhm.
Thinks that you're spending too much money. It's,
Let them know the initial investment.
Initial.
Right, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
When did you buy it? What year?
2002.
Oh, so it's recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty close to the same time the town bought this with anyway.
Right, right. I think that's what they paid for that too, 400 grand. Yeah, yeah.
And that's because the developers were grabbing up everything at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
I was up at Webster from Greenville today and there's land for sale all over.
Yeah,
Nobody's putting anything in conservation there.
yeah.
With the last stand.
You're losing so many acres per week to development.
Yeah,
And I was thinking as I was driving away, thinking, boy, Greenville and Ipswich is just
Yeah,
putting in development like crazy.
yeah.
yeah,
Affordable even.
Well, it doesn't really matter if you're losing the land to developers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they wanna,
Well, it's just, we do need low income. But whether it's, you know, being
Yeah.
put in along is.
there is that whole Puebla farm on the back part here. I don't know if you know it or not. When my kids were young, we used to drive up to the top of Puebla's mountain for blueberry picking. And then in the old house down there, this is a story. There were the two brothers and the sister. None of them ever got married, didn't have any families. And so we'd come back down off the top of the mountain, we'd knock on the door, and the old lady would come out, Miss Puebla. And she'd look at how much stuff we'd had. She'd, okay, $10 for your things. And she'd look at the kids and $4 for those kids. Because they'd be covered with earrings all over their faces. So I don't know if you'd ever been on that, but that was beautiful property. And it's that development that's been in the planning board minutes, you know, the New Ipswich
Oh,
thing.
New
It's that, yeah, it's Puebla's Mountain. Beautiful property.
Is that where the gravel extraction is going on?
They've always had little gravel pit stuff over there, you know, the farmers and stuff, but
Well, it's huge. I mean, it's a big
I don't know.
operation.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been over there in a while, but I mean, you go right by it if you go back way over to New
Yeah,
Ipswich.
Fish Road.
Right, exactly.
Fish Road.
Right.
People-
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, but that's all under development pressure.
It's changed a lot in the past year.
Yeah.
yeah.
Too.
That development, I think they're aiming for it to be a cluster development, so maybe they'll actually protect the.
Oh, you mean like a
It's
PRD?
got some density stuff. I've seen the maps. It's pretty dense in my view, but
Well,
you know,
If it's a PRD, then they're gonna conserve.
what they were explaining was in order to tell how many houses they can put in a cluster, the first map has to be actually laying it out as if it was going to be a regular development, with each lot having its own size and special
Yeah.
shape, and that determines the number of houses they can put in a cluster. So they don't actually have the actual
Yeah.
cluster plan yet.
yeah, New Ipswich a little different.
Well, thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Good seeing you.
Like I said, if you-
Yeah. I'll send you a couple of emails. I'll sort through some, maybe an agenda for those guys and.
Okay.
And then you can comment to it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, okay.
Let me know about selectmen's meeting.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want me to
I'll keep
go
you
on.
guys all in the loop. So,
Thank you.
all right, see you guys.
Great night.
Winter, they surveying the property next to Temple Mountain Mead. The big,
Oh, yeah.
Sand can box.
That's Lebanese, isn't it?
Sand.
Oh, yeah, that
People-
used to be Judge
The
Cap.
trespassing signs that went up, say Sand Kent, or Kenneth Letman, would have a wasp on your shoulder.
Where is he?
oh, yeah,
Following up
here,
it.
way up here.
You didn't kill it, did you?
No, I didn't. He's flying around. I smacked you really hard. too.
Where is the,
So you drive into Greenville
yeah,
and on the right-hand side,
Mark side?
marked side, as soon as the woods start, everything right there.
Oh.
It's where this was gonna be.
Right, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
that was where the.
Yeah.
Height-
It was up for
The
sale-
compressor
it
station was
was up
gonna
for
be,
sale for 2.25.
the compressor station,
Then I
Oh,
went
okay.
by. Green sign.
46,000 horsepower compressor station.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was gonna be
yeah, it was gonna be.
like 100 acres, 20 acres of just facility, 20 acres of facility.
He's a shitty developer too,
Yeah,
you know?
he doesn't really care what
No.
happens.
Well, anyway, but that's
That's where it's going.
That's where it's going, yeah, you can see that it's already
Huh.
subdivided, you know, it's the surveyors, you can see the marks where.
What's good is on the other side of the power lines, that's in conservation, I believe now.
That's Bradler land.
Scat. Or was it Scat or was it Bradler land? There was some land on the other side of the lines that,
Oh, you mean,
It was the
you
scat.
mean which, yeah, it depends on which way you mean on the line. On the same side of the road, but on the other side of the power lines.
yeah,
Um,
on the same.
yes,
fence.
they actually have some on both sides, but that's scat. That's also Chris Wells. He did that too.
Yeah, so that's,
Yeah,
and then on the other side is Bradler.
the other side of the road is.
And I
yes.
think Taft, Bradler was saying Taft was somewhat on the other side of the road as well, on the side of 45.
I thought it was just,
He said there was two Taft.
the
lands.
Taft is what they just sold to Lady.
No.
Oh, yeah,
This
That's
house-
the Taft one.
but maybe that's what he.
Yeah.
talked about, But I
Yeah.
swear he said that some of that Richardson Road land was
Yeah, I think
Taft
that's,
as well.
I don't know. There's like a little weird triangle between the power lines and Richardson Road. I don't know who actually owns that. I thought Radler had everything because he has it from the school
Yeah,
all the way down to the actual first house on the left.
Mhm.
how much land did Kenny?
I'm pretty sure that's all
that's
Bradler
50
land.
acres.
50 acres.
Are you
Yeah.
looking at like that square right there, that rectangle down at the bottom? Right under.
On Burton Highway. towards that-
Yeah, so, yeah, that
They
light rectangle,
stopped-
wait,
stopped
Yeah.
Rectangle.
no, here,
There's a,
we're talking about,
this is where the development's going,
right,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Over there.
yeah.
But that's what's conserved on the other side of
Is
the.
that the school?
Well,
Oh, is that the school, or is the school, I thought the school was right there.
The school
this
was.
is, it painted the road, that's this is the school.
Around the rest.
This is the school.
And then this
Oh,
This
side of it.
right there is
where the development.
is Taft property.
Okay.
And then we cross the line, I take that back. No. Mark's land comes all the way down to here.
Oh,
See,
it
see
goes
where,
down
where
to the-
he crosses over, see how it's lighter there? All that light is Mark's land, so the Taft land is right here,
Oh,
That little
right
rectangle.
here.
yeah.
I'll be right back. We get to review the minutes.
Okay.
I also wanted to, this probably is gonna have to wait for Tom to come back, but how did the town spend 400,000 on Spladany? Like, can we offer to buy like some of Doug Guy's land? Can we buy, like, if the town did?
They'll never sell that.
Yeah.
They're not into selling.
The guy land?
No,
Wait, who's-
what's left of them. The son Devin and the daughter, I believe her name's Haley. And I spoke to Devin about some of the land, and he said, no, we're not, because that land that was for sale on Old Peterborough.
Yeah.
I had inquired about that and I said, hey, is there any chance that's going back up for sale? And he goes, no, we're gonna do something with that. And then I asked about another piece that I knew they had, no, that was gonna be for sale when Doug was alive. And he said, no, we're gonna do something.
Is he a developer?
I don't think so. I think he just wants to hold on to it and maybe, I'm not sure, but I don't think he wants to do much of anything. with it.
Given Dougie's reputation. Yeah, whatever.
Well, still, I don't know. John Barry didn't have a will, right?
Apparently, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another topic of interest, John Barry.
But yeah,
There's a camera on the house now, I know that. So whenever you go in,
Really?
going down to Turtle Brook, you're on camera at the house.
so-
Yeah, so they can, see who's coming and going. So. Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was told the monks were interested in the Buddhist thing.
Oh.
Apparently, the monks offered $1 million for it when he was alive and he wouldn't take it.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, 97, how much money do you need,
Yeah.
A month.
And no will.
I don't know where they get their money.
So the other thing I heard, and this was from, what's his name down there? Looks like Burt's Bees. What's his name? Drives the little Toyota with the flatbed.
Oh.
Oh,
Who are you talking about?
the potato farmer.
The kid there,
Yeah.
the long,
potato farmer guy,
Oh, Alan Fox?
Yeah, Bruce Fox's kid.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were talking with him and he had mentioned that the monks had offered $1 million for
Yeah.
it. So, I mean, it's coming from Alan Fox, but he also mentioned that apparently Barry has some sort of a niece that might be the closest next of kin. And I tried getting some information out of him. He said, yeah, it might go up, might go up for sale if the niece goes and gets it. Who knows,
Oh, I wonder if the town could be talked into, I was asking about if the town actually, I don't even know if I was here, or if I wasn't paying attention. If the town spent 400,000 to buy the Skladany land, well, yeah, if it was early 2000s, I wasn't here. Can we? And I assume that wasn't the Conservation Commission buying it, that was the town.
The town took out a bond.
Can we, like, who led that effort? Could we try to lead that effort?
Kylie and Bruce Senior, Bruce Calder Senior.
So-
were the ones who drove that split anything.
Oh, wow.
For what? For Barry land or what are you
No,
talking
the
about?
split
No,
No, I know that, but I mean, what are we talking about it in context?
that's what I'm asking. Like, could we do something like that for the Berry land? Because it abuts the town forest, right?
Yeah, Yeah.
Somewhat.
yeah,
There's a
no,
woman
I
who
think,
lives- There's a woman who lives after the corner on
Yeah.
North River that we know the name of apparently.
Is it-
That's
is
on
it
the
about it?
left. That owns across the street as well, that about the town forest, because I was over there. And somebody stopped and said, you're on her land is across the brook, where the little parking area is. She doesn't like people.
in my opinion, and this is speaking more generally, if we get close to empty on our conservation fund and something comes at us, then we would do something, an opportunity. We will go to the select board and say, it's time to change and give us more money, or
Well-
otherwise,
That can only happen.
Well, but I'm also thinking the town.
yeah, it would be in March, but I mean,
A town meeting.
right, it's an opportunity. It would have to be
It's an opportunity.
slow moving. But for years, they've been starving us from the use tax, so there's other towns that just add money, it's in their budget to give to conservation, they stick it in our fund, so, I mean, I think that,
I guess the difference that I'm saying is, there's no way, I mean, it would take years to get enough money to be able to buy the Berry land outright. Because we've got to
Yeah.
assume, I think, that they're not going to want to conserve it.
yeah,
So what I'm saying is not having someone come to us, but just, we are aware of the value of certain pieces of land and why, like talking about the conservation strategy.
yeah,
If we are prepared as people die, like Ed Adder.
yeah. There-
Um,
We could, the town easily could do the exact same thing they did for Skladany,
right.
easy.
So we might, even though we're not talking about like, doing
Yeah.
easements or anything, could we bring that with supporting documentation, supporting reasoning, like maybe pulling in some of the NRL information or something to be able to present to the town? In other words, can we drive it? Did you know, John, they sold their house?
John.
So
That's what I
they're-
heard,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so they are,
How far away are they?
She told me they were moving to Cambridge.
oh, okay.
That was quite a while ago.
Yeah, I have no idea. But in other words, we need someone else driving that kind of thing. now,
Yeah,
Because John was excellent. for
Yeah, that
it.
would have been a good mission to put John on.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any,
Maybe
well,
he's
John
still,
has, I know, many times, right? He talked to John Barry, trying to get him to conserve.
many people have, many people had, but it's going to have to be to lack of any better word, a bipartisan effort. Like we would need somebody like a Colgren
Okay.
to support it, or Steve Anderson, and Skladany land wouldn't have been conservative if it wasn't for Bruce Colgren Senior.
Okay,
What have
He-
you
he-
seen them about?
He said a couple things and everybody changed everybody's mind who were against it. And just enough, because there was still opposition, but we would need somebody, we need to get the, like, a consensus, otherwise, it won't happen. But when that happened, people were like, oh my gosh, how do we do this? It's like, well, you just take out a bond and you pay it off, and it's like the town hardly noticed it. I mean, it was
Right.
like 5 years or whatever it took, and it's like, now it's ours. So we could do that, and it wouldn't mean we're going to be driving around with roads that aren't paved or anything. It's ideological with some people that they don't want the town to do something like that, but the town could. And if enough people are interested in conserving either Adder or the Barry land, then the town could do something.
I mean, it feels, especially with the Berry land, considering that he's, time is ticking. If that was something that we thought would be worthwhile trying to go after, it seems like we should get our ducks in a row now and start making connections.
Should at least be looking at who's paying the tax card now.
Right?
Yeah,
That's gonna be a good place to
I'd be
start.
happy to approach Bruce Colburn.
Mhm.
It
would be good to see where people stand on these things.
Yeah.
Like Bruce Jr., because if we can get, if people on our side, people who want conservation and the people who are more fiscally conservative are aligned, then it's just democracy. We decide to do it, and then we do it. And it may be, if I recall correctly, the Scladany land, the property was for sale. Like, that's what triggered it. It was for sale and somebody was interested in it.
And they want to preserve the town.
And so that was the thing that triggered it,
How did it come? Like, town things usually seem to take forever. How did it happen that it wasn't sold off to someone quickly before the town got its act?
I don't know, but John Kiley did it twice. He did it for Temple Mountain, because that was in the process of being sold.
He bought that himself.
Right.
But it was already, they were under contract to sell it to development.
Wow.
And he somehow stopped that, and also with the Scladany. So
Okay.
it would be good to, I mean, we don't even know who the entities are that control these properties right now, right?
Right.
I mean,
Well, unless, like,
the adders are still the adders, but I don't know,
Look at those.
I don't know about the others,
No,
the Barrys.
What's it appraised for?
Which properties?
Oh, the
It's
John Berry?
the Barry property,
Oh, it's,
for example.
I would say it's probably in that $1 million range.
Is it in current use, or was he paying taxes?
Yeah, I'm sure it's,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I would be shocked if it wasn't in current.
So
use.
you know what? Either way, we win. If somebody buys it, they have to take it out of current use.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Because they want-
But if they don't take,
If
they would have to take it out of current use if they're going to develop.
Yeah,
But if somebody bought it and they're like, I want to just keep staring at these old orchards, then
Yeah.
we would be happy, that's fine.
make a porcupine sanctuary.
Right. Right, but if they would have to take it out of current use if they're going to develop it, and for these orchards,
How long has it been in current use?
I don't know, but
Would that even be feasible for a developer to buy it?
it's limited.
Based on how long it's been in current use?
No, I know it's not 100% everything.
Oh,
I mean, it's limited. It's not as good as you would hope.
yeah. No, I'm just thinking like, would it be worth it?
10% of the
Yeah.
Future value of the property,
Yeah,
and how they figure out what that is. So,
It's-
if it's $1 million,
Smoke
you might just look at
there.
100 grand or 200 grand if they
Right.
figure it'll be worth 2 million in the foreseeable. future.
Yeah.
It's rather complicated how it works, but it has nothing to do with what happened in the past.
right. It's not like you pay all back taxes.
And it's like the Avatar guys are the ones who, for this town, figure it all out. Because even, I mean, this is probably politically incorrect to say, but even Ben's Sugar Shack. I mean, Gail used to complain at those select board meetings that he got a sweetheart deal on the land use tax. And you think about it, that's a high value piece of property. I think he got a sweetheart deal too.
Yeah,
But-
sure.
You know, but how did that happen? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, how did that happen?
Well, he
That-
definitely
that-
made up
that
for
was
it in
so
legal
low?
fees.
What?
He definitely made up for it in legal fees.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a crap.
Paying full taxes now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which there's gotta be a lot of money coming in from that. Because it's so high value.
Yeah.
Especially as a.
But it's,
I think it's a nice addition. I think it would.
well, I think
great.
it's a great addition for the town, but I'm just, looking at that land use tax, because we were to get a piece of that, right?
Yeah,
I think we should have gotten more out of that.
well, that's
We
what
get
you approach the
50%.
town with.
We get
have this
50%.
business that's paying taxes. Why can't we get some of that from the
Yeah.
town as like an allowance for the
Yeah.
conservation committee?
Well-
Well, taking it, we might as well ask for some.
That's what I was saying, like, we could be part of the budget.
Yeah.
Put something in the conservation, especially if we do a big project like this, like we're doing with,
Yeah, I would think this is the year to do it. If we've dropped the better part of $200,000, virtually depleting our budget on
Right,
two
between those.
significant projects.
Yeah,
yeah,
That's the argument to say, hey, look what we're doing for the town.
yeah,
We should get, and I think a percentage of.
right, especially
Yeah.
since
Down
we're
decisions.
close to zero or going to be very, very low. It's like, we have no budget to react to anything. We can't even make promises.
Actually, the West was this year as well, so we actually have 3. Which
Right.
is pretty impressive.
Right.
Not this year, it was like last year.
It was this year, because I remember I wanted to, it wasn't finished, right? We didn't. give-
We didn't,
we didn't
yeah, he
give them
wanted it
money.
by December and we didn't actually pass it. We,
We do go by calendar.
Yeah.
we,
okay, so
we
this is-
agreed to it, but I don't think we finished it
Right.
until after the first.
Yeah.
So-
It was in the first.
With these projects, in motion and this money getting depleted, we should just make it a point to start actively thinking of alternative ways to take advantage of opportunities for properties that may come up, because it seems like Murphy's Law is gonna kick in and they're all gonna come when we have
Yeah.
depleted the funds.
Right.
Although we did do incredible things with the funds, we are doing incredible
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, if-
Guarantee that's
Right.
just our luck. Every other property's gonna come up.
I think the right way to approach this petition in March. It says going forward, the Conservation Commission gets whatever percentage
100.
of the land use.
100, that's what the average, that's what they normally do, because this is land coming out of what effectively was undeveloped, and most towns, a lot of them do 100%.
And we don't do.
We get 50%.
Yeah, 50.
Oh, okay.
We get 50. It went from like 10% for a while, like there was really punitive. People that, they didn't make it 0, but it was really like very low.
Is that translated?
It
What
depends-
It all
it
depends
depends
on
on
what
the
you're
area.
doing.
I never put a big pull out.
Since I've been on this commission, I bet you it's been 25 or 30,000 a year. That we're
Okay,
getting from it.
So going
So
to
it's peanuts
50,000
towards-
is,
Would be great.
it's
Yeah,
gonna take a few
people-
years to be able.
It's gonna take a few years just to get to 50, right?
But the consequence of us getting that money is that development's happening or some.
Right.
Right.
is happening.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
but I would make the argument, that's gonna happen whether you get the money or
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
You might as well get some money to try and.
Oh, yeah,
That's something else.
right.
But I think the like Skladany approach is also gonna be one of the things that we should think about.
If there's motivation in the town,
Yeah,
then
not-
that'll actually be easier, because they can just say, because it's a specific property more than likely that they would be, we're
Right.
proposing, and it would have to be at risk, but people would have to feel like if we don't do this, things are gonna change for the worse.
I understand. Proceedings, sales pitch was a community center or something. If we don't have this property because of location, we're not gonna be able to have a community center.
It wasn't, no,
That wasn't it, because that was
No.
a rumor I heard.
It was just
no,
reserved
no,
accounts that
they wanted it,
get
they,
developed.
they wanted to prevent it from being this development, potential development that close to the center of town. And they said, we would all, they just wanted to preserve the center of town, really. And they said we could always use part of it if we needed it for things like the highway department. I mean, they really did say
They were
this.
kind of throwing
They
Hail
did-
Marys as possibilities.
Yeah, they were like, we don't need to conserve it. It's there for us to use if we need it. But we're preventing it from becoming a development. That's what I recall. You were there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I think that was,
There was at
they
least one.
didn't talk about, I mean, there may have been private discussions about a community thing with the Cauldrons or others, but it wasn't in the town meeting. There was 2 town meetings. One, we voted to go it forward with it, and then everybody got mad, and then there was a second special town meeting, and then we continued to support it. So it continued. So but there was 2 town meetings, and I didn't hear anybody talk about anything specific development. It was just like, it's there for the town to use if we need it.
Yeah, so I think the main goal was to stop.
Just to stop development that close to the center of town. I think it's all a matter of how much you like, people like that land, how much they like it. It's these things, both properties are like on the ends. I mean, Adder and John Barry.
There was, when we toured the Adder property, were you all there?
Was
Okay,
that the one where we wound up at the,
that was no, that was west.
The one we were.
I think it was before they.
What?
Okay, the years all blend.
Which,
When we toured at Adder's.
oh, yeah, you just before you came. Yeah.
It was just a beautiful area. And it would just,
That property would be able to qualify for water protection.
yes, which is.
Because it has a wetland and it has effectively the beginning of the estuary that leads right into the Greenville,
Right,
water pond. So that one, we could probably get other parties to put money in for.
yeah,
And probably when as we brainstorm all these other properties, if we have a partner like with a Chris Wells type person, because we're not gonna have the money, right? So, but we would have enough money to put, say, an option agreement on the land that give us a year to raise this money, and
Right.
we'll give you $1 million or
right.
500,000 for it. And then we do the grant writing, we use people
Yep.
like Chris Wells to help us drive the finances. I mean, that might be another viable approach that we can, to do that, though, we probably need to make sure that we keep some money in reserve.
So
We can do these types of option agreements.
I mean, if we, in the very least, for next March, we should have a petition article to increase the current use tax to up to 100%, if not, is to see how the town goes. If they say no, then it'll probably just stay at 50%. It depends on the mood of people, but and part of this is we can say, we've done all this, there's all these other potential properties that we might want to if the owners are conservation minded, then we need to have money ready for them.
I would. Yeah, that one makes me a little nervous unless we have people, that are big influences in the town, like Anderson and stuff, that are in your back pocket saying, yeah, that makes sense to do that. Because I wouldn't be at all surprised if you do that, a warrant article like that, and somebody amends it from the floor and says, oh, they're already getting 50%, let's drop it.
No, that's exactly what happened.
And that's what, if you
right.
go in and ask for 100, you want to double your you're.
That's what happened.
It's what, yeah, right.
we-
There's a lot of people that are very.
So it would be-
fiscally.
It would be really good to know where the sentiment of
Yeah, right.
of the people who are ardent Fisk conservatives in town, how they feel about some of these properties. And if they're like, you know, if they're not interested, I mean, a lot of people, some of these same people are vehemently against buying the Scladany land. Those same people now want us to put a conservation easement on it, and then, you know, it's like, it's not at risk now, because we own it, so we don't need
It's
to do
needed,
anything, right? It's only at risk of ourselves doing
Well,
something.
like the risk of
the
the
town.
town selling off lots like they did up the street.
Well, yes, but I don't think
That's a town.
I don't think that's likely with the Scladany land, but, because it's not gonna be easy to sell.
Yeah.
The other thing is, maybe if we just inform the town, you know, like, we're doing this, that we're getting down there, here's our situation. We've got some cool stuff going on. Here's the other cool stuff that we might need your help on. What are your thoughts? And maybe have a public forum on that. And just get their take on it and just get that bug in their ear, you know?
I don't
Yeah.
know if people will come.
Yeah.
People didn't come to
They didn't come.
the west one, there was like 0.
Yeah.
We were like, no
Yeah.
opposition,
We had us.
Yeah.
we had us,
But,
but no one.
and Ken, when I went to the select board meeting recently with, I forget what it was for. It was for the triangle thing. He said, so you had your public forum? I said, yeah. I said, it wasn't well attended. And he goes, how many people were there? And I said,
BioBlitz.
I said the commission was there.
Yeah.
There's a couple flies on the
Well,
wall.
And Chris
given
came up.
that, we have this public forum for this next month.
We could do it tomorrow for all I care, you know, right?
No, we're gonna have a meeting anyway, we might as well incorporate it
We could do it.
into the June meeting.
We could do it at our June meeting, yeah,
Yeah, that's all it would take.
yeah. Yeah,
And
Yeah, let's do
we
that.
had the public forum. it was
Sure.
the first item
We need to
on
vote
Okay.
on that.
the- And then nobody.
What?
We need to vote on that, to have the public forum next month.
we could do that.
Yeah, let's do that. You wanna
Yeah, let's see.
motion?
I motion to have the public forum at next month's Conservation Commission meeting
The public forum for the
for the
wells,
fifth project, yeah.
with the Fisk, wells Fisk. Oh, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Did we want to get Scott's take on this? So you think he'd be okay?
No, he was at a meeting after this. He was.
Yeah, he dropped before we even did our vote.
Okay,
Okay, so we're gonna do that.
we already have.
next. Okay, so let's see, we have the select board on the 28th, and then the public forum on the, so we have to set what is it, 10 days, not including the day of the.
Yep,
election, and
what's
the day of
nice
the meeting.
is, because we are not a governing body, we're just an advisory body. It's totally fine, we can put the notice, on the website and in 2 other places
Yeah.
physically. So I just let the town do their thing, because they're usually posted there, and then I posted a copy in the post office, and that's all.
Yeah, okay,
So I will plan to do that again.
so since we're just an advisory, we get a little bit of slack on that.
We do.
Okay, I didn't know that, okay,
Yeah.
that's good. All right,
Yeah, that'll keep it moving.
yeah, so that means, let's see, we do it, when's our meeting in June?
I do.
Well, it's 10 days prior. So we have to post it 10 days prior.
Yeah, I think it's 10.
Yeah, not counting the meeting, not counting the
To
posting.
the 11th.
The
12,
11th,
12.
it's the 12th.
June 12th is Wednesday.
Yeah, so we have to post by June 1.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
I may actually, I don't know if it's business days or not, so I may actually post it like before the Memorial Day weekend.
yeah. Okay,
Okay, so. We need to get to the minutes.
yeah. Come on, commish, vice chair, commish. What's this member roles?
Oh, that's
20.
because of 80, for example, does not live, she hasn't lived in Temple for a couple of years now.
Oh, I didn't,
I
I
didn't
thought
know.
you lived on the.
I know.
West Village.
I thought so too, and she didn't, so we need to take 80 off
Yeah.
of the alternates, and then it's just making sure everyone's still happy with their roles, but
Yeah,
we never, we've had so many non-meetings, because they've all been.
Okay,
Well, we can do the minutes, let's get those knocked off.
yeah.
Let's accomplish something.
We've had two motions we voted on.
There we go.
Yeah.
The night is young.
Correct.
Yeah.
Doing,
It's not our daylight.
all right, so
Does anyone remember the March 13th?
March 13th, that was,
Yeah, I didn't have any, I didn't have.
Still
any issues
winter.
with it.
I actually thought we had approved that.
I chaired that one too.
No, because in April, we had the presentation and I figured.
I did actually read it. And I'm okay. Motion to accept as written.
Second,
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I didn't see anything.
that's a third.
And
Roll it.
Okay, and now,
Okay.
the draft minutes for April 17th, it's
that's
gotta be,
just the NRI.
that's just.
Yeah, I tried to do the high points and then the public comment.
I'm not sure I can vote because I was there for that.
You can abstain, yeah.
You'll be,
That looks
you'll be
about
docked
right to
that
me.
day's pay for not.
No personal time.
So on these member roles, do we want,
Well,
Well, I'll make a motion to accept that as a summary of the presentation.
Second.
I,
Aye.
all in favor? Aye. Sorry, I'm forgetting to. do that. Okay, so the minutes are done, right?
okay,
So now,
so this member roles, I would make a motion that. You know, we should. Recommend people be not on the commission if they're not. On the commission. So I don't know how to say, you know,
well, let's just first, let's start with, make a motion to remove 80 because she's no longer a Temple resident.
second,
all in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
John.
Joe.
Yeah.
And Scott did say he was willing, he thought he was still able to attend most, I talked to him at the festival, the fair the other day. He'd be able to attend most of the meetings, the ones that he can't, as long as Sean's open to doing the chairing. He thought he could still do the, remain as chair.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember that.
The only piece we have outstanding is the volunteer form, so. Did you, I actually called Scott and I was asking him, what you sent to him about. Like that volunteer form, it needed to be. Somehow NHMA had to get involved in it and you weren't able to contact NHMA directly because Scott is the official contact.
Oh,
Did you send him anything official, like that he could just forward to NHMA, or is it something?
yeah, official, like, so I didn't know that I couldn't do it, so I wrote up the 2 questions
Okay.
for them. And sent it to Carol, said, can you send this to them? And she came back and said, no, Scott has to do it. So I then forwarded my questions to Scott and said, can you do this?
Okay, so he has lost track of that email, because I asked him if he had it, he's like, I don't remember, so. If you can re-forward that to him and say, because I kind of gave Scott a hard time, I'm like, if you aren't gonna do the things that we need you to as chair, then you shouldn't be chair.
All he had to do is forward it to an email of whomever, we contact now. And I mean, I think
Okay, so maybe if Scott sends,
I can find my email and resend it to him to try to see if he will do something. But you know, I don't know, I can't do it, so I can't.
no,
Make him do it.
what I'm thinking is, did Carol say who to send it to or not? She
No,
just said no. Because Scott probably doesn't know who to send it to. So what I will do,
we just, it would be good to give Scott, so he needs a Cliff Notes, right? He needs to know what to do. So he can just do it,
Exactly,
yeah, so
exactly.
can we get an email that he can forward it to?
that's what I will ask Carol for the NHMA email.
Yeah,
And then, I can send that to you and then you can re-forward that email.
I will format, yeah, I'll say, here are some questions, could you please send this to, yeah, so if he reads the email, all he has to do is kind of forward it to them, or,
Yep, okay,
it didn't used to be this way.
right, they were probably getting people who weren't, supposed to be contacting.
Yeah,
Okay,
but I'm pretty sure when it was looser, I initiated conversations just through an email. Probably was something Gail Cromwell gave me.
right. Okay, so for the rest of the member roles, I think we all need to say yay or nay, we'll continue in our current roles and then vote on them. So Mike, do you want to continue? Okay, just.
Kathy, do you?
I don't mind doing the minutes. I don't mind if someone wants to take them on since I'm doing other things these days, but I am okay to do
I type like this.
it.
I am comfortable continuing in my role.
I'm comfortable with being
Vice Chair.
the vice chair, although I don't think that's official though, isn't it?
Well, I think it can be. I've been kind of loose with the title, so I now that I know more for being on the planning board stuff. So someone could make a motion. We can probably do it all at once. Just say,
I motion that everybody continues with the same roles that we have in the past year.
okay, and I will extend that in minutes.
I'll second it.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so now member roles, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we need to do the town forest
Okay,
printing.
This seems, not cheap, but good value to me, because 10 books is 50 cents a page.
Yeah.
And 20 books is 40
And it's
something
colored.
cents a page.
Yeah.
And I thought colored pages were like $1 cheap.
they are
They look like that.
stable,
And
way more expensive.
right, and it's spiral bound. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem bad value to me.
I think. So.
I'm with you.
Now, do we have that much?
Well,
Money?
the printing budget is probably about half that, but all in, we have plenty of money in our operating budget to move things around and come out on top.
At the 10 books?
At the,
Because 20 was 460, 10 was 257. I
yeah,
don't think
10,
we
at the-
need.
10.
I don't think you need 20.
I don't think, yeah,
I mean, do
He
we,
said he was gonna give 2 of them to Eric, so it's really 8 that'll be left. I don't know why Eric needs 2, but
that is a strange thing.
yeah, so,
and what?
I think 10 is plenty.
So we've got 8 of these things, what are we gonna do with them?
Well, it's
Library, town hall,
library, town hall.
Town,
probably
where's,
Peggy's store.
where do we put it, you mean like this town hall?
so,
No,
I mean, the
town
office.
hall.
Oh, the offices, okay, that's 2,
And-
Eric
and the
gets
store.
2.
that's 4,
Scott will probably wanna keep 1,
5.
so get a couple of extra.
I think 10,
Saying the store,
What? Just-
Peggy needs, She's like a local reference.
Yeah,
Okay,
what if we get sick?
Oh, price too
Price
much.
will drop,
Yeah.
just get the 10.
well, I think 10's fine. I'm
Yeah.
just justifying, if we haven't consumed all of the 10,
Yeah.
then that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
All right, so someone needs to make a motion.
And I think, we have an extra $250 left over in our dues and subscriptions. We probably have $150 left in our printing and advertising budget, and so and then we have 200 in training and seminars, so we'll be able to pay.
I motion that we pay for the 257 for 10 books of the town forest plan for printing.
Now, if you give me the invoice, I'll put the voucher in and send it to Carol, and
Should vote on
Yeah, we gotta do all in favor. Aye.
that.
man, there's too much voting going on.
You're,
I'm running out of drinking,
Now, do you get those?
but I'll need the invoice.
Is that enough of an invoice?
I don't think that, no.
why? You need a number?
Well, I would just need an invoice, an official invoice from, what is it, Sapper?
Sabra.
Oh, is
It's
that-
an email.
Oh, okay,
Hi, Scott.
I think I
The
have,
prices of the spiral bound is from them.
Okay, yeah, and just let her know that
Yeah.
it's the 10,
okay,
yeah, okay.
Alright.
I attached it to the meeting.
okay,
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it looks. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
yeah, I got it,
It's from them, just doesn't have an invoice number, but I don't think that matters. We've had people just write up things like
right.
before.
Crayon on a napkin.
Okay, so now that, are we done with the printing estimates? We're spending all kinds of money. Okay, updates, natural resources inventory is the first bullet. We don't have to go on a lot about that. It went very well. Anybody have any follow-ups from the natural resources inventory presentation?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent. I don't want to talk about it now because we're already at an hour now. I think if you all agree, I would like to keep this on the agenda because I think there were points in there. What I'd like to do is like kind of combine Jeff's input with our land conservation strategy and really try to figure out how, like, to let Jeff's info inform, maybe fine tune.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I would also like to leave it on the agenda because at some point Jeff's going to have some feedback on the zoning, right?
He's already done the audit of the zoning, but it was somewhat high level because he would say things like, this section is weak, it has no action items, but he didn't like give any action items. Because it wasn't, I don't remember how much they were paid. They weren't paid a lot of money to do this audit. It was just really, it wasn't here is what you should do. It is
there's no action plan out of it, right?
right, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So, but Christine, I think the state got to actually has more funding to continue with this. And I think Christine has gotten more funding, which means that potentially, I'm not sure exactly what the funding's for, but since some of it went to Jeff before, I'm assuming that we might be able to have him give us more.
Action items.
Exactly.
That's what I would want to see.
But
If I remember right, we paid for a baseline and there were possible addition items.
well, for the NRI itself, yes, and I don't know, was action items has been more of the zoning planning board
Yeah.
realm, not.
The zoning audit was not ever part of the NRI. The NRI had things all about the BioBlitz
Okay.
and that, which we postponed because we don't have money this year.
Yep.
But that's another thing we have to think about for next year's budgeting, but it didn't have anything about the the zone audit. Because I remember when I heard about that, we thought, is this something Jeff could do? In the planning board, and I think, it was like, yes, that's probably something we could have Jeff do, because they, so anyway, I don't think that was part of the original.
Okay, so maybe this next round of, the current grant ends in July. I don't know if the next grant's gonna start up right then, but, anyway, so it sounds like, yes, there will be, and I assume too, if he's doing action items, we might like attend some of those planning board
Sure.
meetings to understand.
Yeah, that would
what's
make
going on.
sense, right?
Um,
Let us know if you know what's happening.
exactly.
Yeah.
But even like looking at his really valuable habitats maps against what our land conservation strategy is, we could also, and that may be another reason, like if, for example, the Berryland has really special habitat. He probably wasn't even able to go on private lands and probably did not
Right.
So you got
go on Berry.
an authorization.
Right, yeah, which we got a lot of no's
Yeah,
from
yeah.
private landowners, so, but anyway, that might, all right, so I will keep it on the,
Yeah.
keep it on.
Okay, next is the kiosk.
It's down leaning against the schoolhouse. We just have to decide when we want to put it in and where. So,
Do you
And
still need the ramp truck?
no, because he moved it down there.
Okay, good.
So it was here, and then Ken told me he moved it down there. And it's leaning up against the schoolhouse.
is the plan that we would, that Eric would help? Or what's?
Put it
Oh,
in.
the dim wall.
Oh, Ken volunteered to help me put it in.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so
Oh, great.
he just comes down, and if we schedule a time we want to do it, I'll purchase a couple of sonotubes. We'll get him with his backhoe, make a hole, bring a bunch of stone down, and we'll,
Okay,
we'll trim it up and pop it in.
okay.
So,
If you need help or whatever,
yeah,
let us know if we're available,
Yeah, yeah.
people can help.
Yeah, feel free to shoot a text out.
yeah, okay. Eric and I did the last one, so, but he dug the hole for us there too, so. Yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. I wasn't even thinking about doing it yet, but
No, I was just curious.
Do you want, can we vote to approve Mike to purchase sonotubes and pay him back whatever the cost is, or do we need to know a cost first?
they're only like $8 a piece, if I remember right. I bought them the last time, but I didn't put in an expense report for them, but.
You could buy them, bring in your receipt, and we'll vote to refund.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Conservation lot,
So that's all in the go. The Monadnock has the Mylars, has a print, has a draft. I got the select board to sign off and notarize the draft conservation easement. And then Monadnock says, well, you shouldn't have had them do that because, we need to put our baseline document on it first. And I was like, well, whatever. So it's signed. So we're signing another, we'll sign another. So it's all going forward. So they don't work really fast. It'll probably happen in this calendar year.
Do you know if they've done their walk?
I don't know if they've done their baseline survey. I assume they have. I'm meeting with one of their stewardship guys tomorrow to give some maps. I'll ask him. He'll know because he does most of those baselines. So then what they do is they've drafted the easement. We signed it off. They got the maps. They have another board vote, and then, and it's just kind of a rubber stamp board vote at this point. So, and then they'll file the documents and send us an invoice. So,
Keep it rolling.
yeah. So it's pretty much all done.
good, okay.
So,
So it's rolling like a glacier rock.
exactly.
Okay, and done with that?
Yeah.
The next bullet was the volunteer agreement form, what we have sort of already
already talked
discussed that.
Yep.
And the action item is you're gonna get me an email, then I'm gonna take that and forward my questions to Scott and.
Exactly.
Okay. Highway Department Location Committee.
13
You moving?
is going to be a forum to get feedback. So there's a presentation at the March Town Hall.
Yep,
for,
with the options.
Then there's gonna be a forum on June 13th, that Thursday night. I haven't scheduled it yet or anything, but that's on my shoulders to
Okay,
free up a room. And it's to get some feedback, here are the options, what do you guys think? So, that was the commitment, is to start getting the input from the town to go, it was options last year. This year, the commitment is recommendations.
yeah,
And it's not for us to decide what the town wants, it's for people of the town to decide what the town wants.
Mhm.
so what will be the will the feedback lead into what would be a warrant article?
Probably,
Okay,
and this is where, I have kind of there's a lot of people on the committee admittedly that are, the highway department has to stay here.
yeah,
And there's people on the other committee that the highway department has to move. I'm struggling with the fact that it's kind of pointless to do too many of the other questions until you resolve that. But I think looking at the two detailed options, what does each of them mean, feeds into that. So it's going to be a very confusing year.
yeah,
But suffice it to say that the feedback is starting June 13th. Here are the options. Now, what do you guys think? And we're going to try to advertise it as much as possible and get as many people there as possible, all of which I know nothing about. But there's people there that are really good at that.
Offer free beer, they'll be.
I'll hold it at the end.
That way they'll just get it all out at the forums and not.
Right.
We certainly struggled to get people to show up
Yeah.
at the housing.
Yeah, but this one,
I'm hoping,
I think if we present it right, it means real money.
right,
Because if you do nothing, the thing's gonna fall apart. And you're gonna wind up paying a lot of money later on.
Mhm.
right.
To fix it is gonna take money. To move it is gonna take more money. But if you move it, what do you do with this? And an interesting question was actually raised. This is a historic district. What can you do?
yeah.
A historical
And
society museum.
Can you,
there's
well,
been-
the thing is, can you move it? Because that's a pretty big change to a historic district.
Yeah,
And again, none of which I know anything about, but somebody asked that question the other night.
And we've,
Never even thought of that.
I think we've had 2 public votes on moving and both were killed.
Well, there was, reserve this thing was passed. Then then that was killed.
Yeah,
Then create the highway commission.
yeah,
The highway garage study. And then the presentation in March, but I don't think there was any warrant articles related to that in March. But there's still a lot of money sitting there. There's almost $300,000 sitting there. And the only thing that you can do with it is to move. Which is kind of interesting.
where's,
There is
That was the
a
money
study,
set aside for that.
there's a $40,000 or $45,000, something like that, was set aside to study moving the garage. And it was very specific. It was only to study moving the garage. And then there was a $250,000 set aside to be used in the event we move the garage. Can't be used to fix this garage. Can
Well,
only
it
be
can
used-
Oh, you could do
Probably.
another warrant. article.
Yes, exactly.
Well, then that's what would have to happen.
yeah,
yeah, you could put.
But right
over-
now, there is almost $300,000 sitting there that can't be touched unless you move the garage. And it can be used, kind of like us, if they want to move the garage, and the Board of Selectmen agrees with what they're paying to get, what they're using it for.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I try to attend, because I'm not hard and fast in either camp. I try to attend both meetings. But the land use committee hasn't been having it. So I don't know what's going on.
I thought I recall two votes. One was to use the whole land. And that was killed or didn't.
No, it's 5 acres of the Spadani property to be reserved for the highway department, passed in March, a year ago, March. And then there was the special meeting that rescinded that and formed the study.
Yeah,
But when we were researching down there, it was planned to be on the whole land. When we were walking around looking at that seat
it would, yeah.
day, that was,
Originally, it was going to be on the Holt land. And I remember people, the abutters of the Holt land and Bruce Jr., they both, there was the strongest opposition to that. And then I thought, well, okay, we won't do that. We'll use part of the Spadani land. Because the original was going to be almost entirely on the Holt. Yeah, so I think it's been voted down at least twice.
Well, I don't remember the whole land.
Yeah, it
but
may have been
2 years
before your
ago was
time.
our first meeting.
Yeah,
So if it was a year before that, we wouldn't have been.
yeah, I think it's happened twice. So, I mean, I only mention that because it, you know, it's going to be after they lose the people like the idea of moving, but everywhere they want to move it to, people get upset over it. So it's like, I would anticipate the next move would be the opposite, which is to pour money into this place. And if the public likes that, then you know, it's
Well,
3 strikes against moving.
the big issues, I understand it, is aesthetics and art.
Yeah.
And now I am stepping out of that role into a personal thing.
Yeah,
I think
If-
central location.
Well, centrist, so that's not far enough apart to matter
Well, yeah,
from that point of view.
Yeah.
But the options as laid out, and what faces town is a nice looking carriage shed. That
Yeah.
would be very aesthetically appealing from a historic point of view, which hides a lot of it.
it would then hide some of what people don't like to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Get rid of the cinder block garage that's falling down anyway.
Yeah,
Frees up a lot of parking, moving the sand pile, frees up a bunch more parking.
yeah,
And it's relatively inexpensive compared to the option of moving
Yeah.
a greenfield development and all. An interesting thing that I did notice at the NRI, this is not over an aquifer. The proposed new site is directly
Yeah.
over an aquifer.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we walked the whole property, we were like, yeah, I guess so. But I always felt like this is such beautiful land. I mean, it was really, really
Yeah,
beautiful land with lots of water, and it's just like, do we really want to move it here just because it's convenient and it's free? The land's free. So anyway,
the land is free, but you're looking $5 million.
yeah, the land, yeah,
The other interesting thing was there was apparently a fuel spill or hydraulic spill or something here like in the 60s. And they discovered it some 30 years later. It
Yeah.
basically settled through the sand, sitting in a ledge, a bowl-shaped hunk of ledge.
yeah,
So this almost has its own built-in containment facility by sheer happenstance.
yeah,
But it's there.
yeah, and
yeah, there was.
I mean, there's,
Yeah, and apparently it was all dug out and it was probably diesel because my understanding anyway was treated as hazardous waste.
yeah.
And they don't do that with hydraulic fluid.
No.
No, it was their tank had ruptured and leaked all out.
Mhm.
Okay, I hadn't heard that. detail, but that
Fuel
sounds awesome.
tank, yeah. It was
Well,
that one right
right here, yeah.
Did we get sick on that? Copy of one?
I think there was, I remember after in the past couple of years, somebody found that old report from.
Was it on the town page on
state.
Facebook or something?
It may have been,
Yeah,
But I remember someone found the old paper copy, which was a report from the state.
Yeah.
So it was like, wow, yeah.
Is that something you found?
No, my wife saw it on the town.
I
Facebook.
think it was on the
It
town.
sounds like
page.
somebody like Connie Kylie or somebody.
Yeah.
I could have pasted it.
Or maybe
Yeah,
even-
somebody like Connie found it.
Yeah.
Somebody, I'm not sure
It was
who.
interesting. It
Yeah.
was, to say the least, that, and I grazed over the fact that it was a natural pole, so that's
Yeah.
cool to know as well. We
Right,
do
and it
have
was-
kind of a ledge containment unit,
Just by sheer happenstance.
yeah.
Okay, so the next step is there's gonna be public forum and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, over the year, what I expect to happen is things will coalesce around an option.
An option, yeah.
And then there will be pros and cons presented of that option.
Yeah.
And my gut feeling is, and again, this is pure conjecture on my part, that there will be something dealing with money and, all of the improvements can be done in phases. So it would make sense that here's the option everybody voted on, and we believe, let's have a warrant article, please pass this warrant article to approve X dollars to do this and this towards that option.
Mhm.
So you would do some freestanding or some independent first step, and my gut feel is move the sand pile would be one of the first things.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna free up a crap load of parking.
A day with our loader.
Well, you gotta build the thing.
Oh, the Lego
The
block,
reason
yeah.
it works where it is the sun hits it and melts the ice cap off it, so they can get to it in the winter. If you don't do that, it has to be in a building, and they basically do those concrete block things and then
With
put
a
a car poured over it.
Like the stage shed down.
Yeah. Well, probably nowhere near that fancy, but, and that's all conjecture on my part of where, if I was king of the world, what would I do? I'd move that sand pile.
Another option may be to purchase some sort of a shelter that in the event that they did ever want to move it, could be modular. You know?
Well, I think what they're envisioning is exactly that, because it's big concrete rocks.
Yeah.
You just lift them up with a crane and restack them.
Yeah.
They're the ones they build the
Yeah,
retaining walls on them,
yeah,
and then you just put a thing over it, and that's easy to disassemble.
Like Legos for.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a building, it would be a stack of blocks.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
But
a
it
good
would
idea.
hold everything.
If they could invest it, and even if it moved, they could still reuse it. So, that sound business sense.
Is that more the question of being in a historical district of whether that would be allowed?
Well, that's the real question, is any of this allowed? That's the first time I've heard of that, thought of that, was just a couple of days ago. I have no idea what the answer is to that. But the buildings are degrading rapidly. And
They're
a
historic in a
carriage
different
shed
way.
with, arches and, looking like garage doors, it's just a facade,
Yeah,
but it would
yeah.
make the whole area much more aesthetically
Yeah.
appealing. And you get rid of that, you get a bunch of parking,
yeah,
you wanna put a, historic space. Lillian sent me her proposal, only 800 square feet. That's a good sized garage.
Yeah.
Right? But make it attached to the library, you wouldn't hardly take any parking space.
oh, for the Historic Society.
For the Historic Society space, put a little addition on the library.
Pick up some.
And not
lawn
that it
back
would
here.
be part of the highway garage, but the
That's
highway
next.
garage option doesn't include that. And
It's a natural extension from the library that,
that's exactly what I
you
was
know,
thinking.
the Historic Society, yeah,
Historic
right,
facilities are first cousins to each
right.
And it's all on
I
the
agree.
same land.
other. Right. And if you do it attached, so you don't have to go outside.
Yeah,
Right,
and then make it so if they
exactly.
wanna do a little more,
That-
they can
that
get
would
a
be
little more
perfect.
next.
That's what I'm trying to do is take everybody's input, what everybody
Yeah.
wants to do with stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
great.
do a checklist together and say, option A, option B,
You'll,
how does it meet
If you-
everybody's needs? And anybody can add anything they want to the list. Because if somebody adds it and you can't defend it,
If you
Might
get,
be a good option.
if you get other parties like the Historic Society people into the whole project because they'll get something out of it, then that's
I've
where it's gone, then it'll happen, yeah.
I've already talked to Lillian and I've already included her. I
Okay,
don't know who a lot of these players are.
Yeah.
But I think once it gets out that we're trying to do this, everybody's gonna give you suggestions.
yeah,
Cool, I'll keep adding.
that sounds good.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what I want,
Mhm.
it's what's best for the town as a whole.
Is that where the septic is that needs to be enlarged?
No,
Oh, the septic is,
over here.
oh, okay.
As far as I know, it's behind us and goes in between the buildings.
Why did it need to be enlarged? This was news to me too.
I didn't know it was, had to be enlarged. I just know it existed. It's behind us. And I think it,
It's generally not in
Yeah.
the sidewalk.
Okay.
yeah,
There was a.
Not yet.
Just-
I think if it springs a leak.
well, it may be an issue in that you have to be careful with it.
And there's probably setbacks if there was gonna be any sort of
Well, none of the.
modification.
I think there was once a problem with it. Somebody did something to it. I can't remember. I wasn't here then, I don't think, but I think there was something, somebody had to do something to it at one point, but I understood it was behind here, going on the edge of between the two buildings,
Okay,
this and the Friendship.
okay, all right.
It's not over there, I don't think, at least that's what I was told. Okay, are we done with the highway department? The White Ledges gate lock.
Attempted to break in and drop the lock, failed and waiting for authorization to cut and purchase another
So-
dial or.
What's this
Lock.
about? What are we having Russ do this for?
Well, I
don't
thought
think that-
Eric wanted to be able to get up there.
With it, so that he could take care of,
He's doing- Exactly.
okay,
So
okay.
he's not carrying everything there.
The last I recall was the, when we had a fire up there and the fire trucks went up there damaging the trucks and they couldn't get in, so they cut it off. And then afterwards, we or they or somebody put a new lock on. That's the last I recall.
I have it could be totally wrong, but I have a memory of it being Lincoln who did that.
Yeah. Have you tried Lincoln?
No, should I try Lincoln before I cut it?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Sure.
And then like, if he doesn't know anything about it, we'll cut it. And then that brings up the question also of, I believe the lock on the Weston land is just dummy locked
Dummy.
there. So do we want to purchase two locks and just start fresh at that point? And
Is the Weston property, do we have a problem?
No, not really. I mean, it's, if we
Yeah.
mow those fields, so just,
I wouldn't, I mean, I'm
I probably just.
not that cheap, but I wouldn't, if there may be a reason we want it unlocked.
yeah, I'm just thinking that's our only two gates. So if we wanted to rekey them now and then just start from scratch. get it done. But I'll try Lincoln and then if he doesn't
Yeah.
plan out anything, I'll
Yeah.
just get another one. And the only other question is another number lock or keyed
For,
for the white.
For the-
ledges.
Probably number lock, and what if,
yeah, I would probably do.
yeah, just because keys are so easy to
Yeah,
lose track of.
Have checked the fire department, make sure they don't have the combination.
I'll check with Mike Conley and Lincoln.
Right, because the fire department were involved and maybe, because they cut it last time to take care of the fire, they may have said, we'll put another one on.
Yeah,
Or I remember it was somebody that's still in town.
Yeah.
I just don't know who.
They care about that gate, fire.
they'll have it.
Wouldn't they know the combination?
Yeah.
And if we do
I-
replace the combination, we should probably let them know what it is.
Yeah.
Point of interest right there too, yeah. All right, so I'll make some calls, and I'll follow up on that. Go leave it on, and we'll, by the
Okay.
next meeting, we'll revisit it.
So,
And
Okay.
actually, if it is the fire department and you use a number lock, they may want to pick the number.
Yeah, exactly. So as long as we have it somewhere, I think
Exactly.
we'll be good.
we're at just over 2 hours. What else do we, on the agenda, do we want to talk about?
Do we have and this is kind of a ignorance question on my part. Do we have a land conservation strategy?
Yeah, I've written a few of them and,
Is it a philosophy? Because I think the strategy is more like a plan. We want
Yeah.
to go after this, we want to.
well, so
Like
the
the very
first one we did, at least the first one I did was that in mind, let's just target properties that are high conservation value and figure out a means by which we can get them. And I think this was when Carol was here. I don't think people liked that philosophy, thought it might be too aggressive. So I think the last one I did was just basically you have to be opportunistic, and when things come available, you're gonna have to decide, do you believe it's of high conservation value and then figure out a means so that you have a time window where you can raise money and go get it, so.
And didn't you have three, what were the three
did.
things? One of them
can't
was
remember.
like connecting to existing conservation areas.
Yeah,
Was one like connecting trail
yeah, I think I
And
had,
then, wildlife?
yeah, wildlife corridors, look at, when you target lands, target them to expand off of your existing conservation base and look to connect, open undeveloped tracks if possible as wildlife corridors, just stuff like that. I can resend it all out if you want.
That's like Jeff's info, like Jeff's map.
Yeah, it's very,
All of that
yeah,
are-
Yeah, I was kind of looking through those.
yeah.
It was interesting to notice. But it seems like there should be a little combination of both of those.
Correct.
You have to be
probably.
opportunistic when it kind of falls in your lap and be prepared to buy a 1-year delay on a sale or something.
Right,
But,
right.
What is that? 10% of the value of the property?
Hmm.
And that you're risking losing if you don't
Yeah.
buy it?
And I also,
Actually, $100,000.
Yeah.
Right.
I also think we should have a kind of a scale, the scale tips when we've used our money like we are now, where we should be focusing our land conservation strategy on raising more money.
Yes.
Well,
And
yeah,
then the scale will tip as to, grabbing up some
Yeah.
opportunistic moments of
Well, I
conservation.
think part of the strategy should be, have $200,000 at our disposal at all times.
Yeah.
That's,
Spend it.
how do we control that?
yeah, that's a
Well, the thing
problem.
is, you spend it. And the further away from the 200,000 you are, the more urgency there is on the way to raise money.
Right,
But we can't.
We can't raise money.
We
We
can't-
can only ask, with
But-
warrant articles.
Or
Well,
just
but with-
have a strategy
The method,
kind of fresh
Well,
in our mind.
If-
whether it's you ask the town for money.
Yeah.
We
A
can-
warrant article, please, we have a warrant article to raise through taxation, $200,000 to put in conservation. Purely conjecture, or warrant article to go from 50% or 100 to 100% of use tax. Whatever, and how you do it has to be dealt with, but
It's kind of a slippery slope.
I spoke earlier that I think we could ask for more current use tax. From a political perspective, if we say we want $200,000 in our pocket, just in case, they won't go for that.
And
If
it'll-
you have a threat, like John Barryland is under threat, sell, then you get people to pony up.
well, but
that's too late.
this year.
No, not necessarily. I think, I don't, this is, we've seen people do it in town, so, but whether I like it or it's too late, that's historically, from a political perspective, that's when the town does something. Like Skladany was under threat, we put money up, and that was hard. It was a hard fought, but we did. Whereas if we just say we want this much money, usually that's just, as much as I think we should be as a town doing that, if we want to become a quality place to live, the town should be putting money much more than what we get from current use, but
Yeah.
I politically have never seen that the
Right.
town show that kind of power.
I think this year might do that,
It,
because we had $200,000. We spent almost all of it.
Yeah.
We did some very good things with it. That opportunity is.
I would love that to be true,
Right,
But-
then the other side of the coin, from a political or a citizen standpoint might be that, okay, yeah, they spent their $200,000 on this, and now they want another $200,000. That they might be thinking that that's just like, you know, them getting $200,000 off us without asking us what we want to use it for, you know what I mean? And then it just,
yeah, they're gonna say, well, you just spent all this money, why do you need more? Like,
Yeah.
aren't you happy?
just what could happen, you know?
All of these arguments and counter arguments are valid.
Yeah,
How long, and I think they should be addressed, so you can be prepared to field the questions.
And I
How long
think,
did the $200,000 sit there or take to accrue?
I think it took, we
Many,
never had 200,000 before.
yeah. many
For years, we had under, like 80. When I started, it was like 70 or 80. And then just because of slow accrual and the development, we got over, it was over 100 and, you know, we just barely got to 200 and then all of a sudden we spent it.
I mean,
But-
It took a long time
So we have not done anything significant.
for many
We
years.
spent significant amounts of money to conserve property in many.
Like I said,
And,
today, yeah,
but this year, the opportunities presented itself
yes.
and just follow my argument.
Mhm.
And we spent $200,000 and did all these good things. Now, if an opportunity presents itself, which is getting more and more likely as the pressure to develop is
Yeah.
getting more and more, and the quality of life, you know, what makes Temple comes under fire more. We're not in a position to do anything about it.
Yeah,
Is it something you guys want? Is the quality of life something you want preserved? Give us the tools to do it. Now.
all they can do is say no.
The two op consultants may hate that, but the reality is, that's what makes Temple.
I mean, we could, I'm not against it, I'm just historically, we've never did something that aggressive. But we could sit there and say, well, there's John Barry, there's Ed Adder, there are potentials, then there's the Guy properties that I don't know what's going on with Gail Cromwell right now. I mean, there's a lot of places where they're beloved places that we could say, if any of them start to go on the market, or even if the optimal, they come to us and say, I want to conserve, but I want something similar to the Fisk where it takes some money, but we're not prepared. We could present that to the town in a warrant article. We could even talk to the select board to see if we can get them to buy it.
They were saying that the age in Temple is 6% over 50 years.
Yeah, it's
So,
aging out.
well, the town is aging.
I also think this is something we need to talk about with Scott and get his take on.
Yeah, no,
As far
I,
as coming up with strategy.
if,
Put something together.
right,
We should,
I
we
think,
did good things this year. We consumed virtually all our money.
yeah,
And the rules are changing. What do we want to do? Is this something we want to do, or do we want to just live with the fact that we're gonna struggle along, you know, basically limp along for the next 10 or 15 years till it accrues and we can do something good then, and at that point, it may be too late.
Yeah,
it would be good to know
it's definitely something.
how the feel out politics before, so we could figure out, because it's like playing poker. If you put too many chips on the one thing you're betting on, then you lose, then you're lost.
What if we talked about putting out some surveys? About what townspeople think about these scenarios?
Yeah, I like surveys. A lot of people
And especially if we can
don't like to
avoid
answer them.
the paper, so that we don't have to pay the.
And it's something we could probably even put up on the town Facebook page, because that's where most of the
Yeah,
participation happens.
I've done, you know, the Survey Monkey, that's
Yeah.
easy to do. I mean, if online, that's easy to throw them together. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to think about survey to make it so that it actually works.
And that would plant the seeds in the, in the public's head. That, this is what we're facing right now, this is what we've done.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? What do you think would happen if, we came up with a property that we did need the town to appropriate some funds for, similar to the Squidany project? And that would at least, make us more able to make an informed decision as to the next steps that we're gonna take to generate some funding or different venues to get that funding. So I think surveys are important.
Look at all the cool things we've done,
Yeah,
Remember-
and what's in it for you.
This
yeah,
isn't
maybe
done yet.
after Fifth is done.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe after we have the public forum, so at least the public is informed about Fisk, then we
Yeah,
can say.
that's true.
Because the survey would be pretty cool to say, look, these are the 3 things that we've either done or are in progress. We've wiped out our funding. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, here's what we've done and what's in it for you.
Well, that's.
Why do you care
Right,
that we've done that?
right.
And one of the things that goes to our quality of life in Temple is the amount of land that's been conserved.
Yeah,
I-
it's
I-
north
like
of,
the highest percentage of the state or something.
no, I don't think so. We're
Share.
north of 24% of the total acreage.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah,
More than the available property.
yeah, the Forest Society, well, remember, we've got all this federal land and
Yeah.
state parks on the north side too, so that
That
helps.
was scary when
But-
Jeff said that that's not protected.
Well, it's not protected under easement. Just like the west property isn't protected under easement.
Well, but the forest.
Yeah,
the Forest
it would,
Society could
what's
have
the
it
term
all
when it's owned, but it's,
Be protected?
fee, yeah, fee.
Yeah.
Fee,
fee ownership.
right, it just means somebody's sitting on it and it's not likely to change.
Yeah.
The Temple Mountain is not conserved. It's a reserve. The
Right.
reserved state could do anything with it. But they would need an act of the House to pass, and so politically, it's very unlikely. You could say, why didn't they just make it a nature preserve? Because that was they were spending money, and some people were like, no. So that was a political decision to make it only a reserve. It's effectively hard to take it out of conservation, but it's not conserved.
So it's essentially a state park.
It's a
And
state,
it's an unstate park.
it's a free state park. It's a state reserve. It's like, you don't have to pay anything, but state owned.
The Forest Society recommends, thinks that healthy towns are at that 25% level, so. That's what they've always positioned, so.
We're getting closer.
But the other thing too, is that, we have to be prepared to write grants to try to get money. Once a project comes across, we have to. Because that's the way
I
a
don't-
lot.
I don't know if conservation commissions are supposed to do that.
Why not?
Because we're just advisors. We're not supposed to be, we're really just advisors.
So who would that
I don't-
fall on? The select board?
I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything.
We could do grant writing for this town, but it's not our money, I think. And we could say, like, that would be for a project, right?
Yeah, right.
It would have to be for a project, and a project is something we could do, but it's not like raising money and just stick it in our,
No, that would
conservation
be-
fund.
that's my point is.
Okay.
It's probably more, you probably get more bang for your buck when you have a project and you write grants to try to raise the money to do the project.
100%.
Than to
Yeah.
like just do the land use change tax and incrementally grow it, over 5 years.
Right.
So,
But if we did that, if we use the land use tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, grew, that's the bucket, we buy the time. to
Yeah,
write the
yeah.
grants.
Well, that's why I was saying earlier tonight, you want to make sure we keep some money in reserve so that if opportunities are there and we know we don't have the money to do the whole thing, we may elect to buy an option on the property and then go try to raise the money,
yeah,
to do the project. I mean, that's kind of a lot of conservation commissions in the southwest region do those types of things. I think, Ringe has a really active conservation commission. They've raised money through multiple little, at least from reading the paper, multiple other agencies on grants to do conservation projects. What's that?
Talk to them about that.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that? I mean, maybe invite them, one of their experts
Yeah,
to one of our meetings and say, okay.
I think they
We
have,
pitched away all our money. Now, how do we rebuild it?
I think they have a lot more opportunities.
yeah.
Like, the opportunistic, we don't have opportunities unless they walk in and say they're interested.
Yeah.
We could go, I mean, we've tried, not we as a commission per se, although we did with Ed Adder, we
Right.
went to him and tried to get him. People like Lincoln talked with John Barry. I mean, we have emissaries, if not our own members, to try to get people to bring them to the table. And then we could, but we still don't. If people don't come into the door, walk in the door like Gail and Tim Fisk, then we can't force them,
Well, they can make, my point being, you said it, they raise money, they do these grants and, if they're a successful department or a commission, maybe they give us kind of suggestions that aren't appropriate for us.
iPhone?
An iPhone, is that you?
I-
Sean?
Not me. Might be my girlfriend. The Zoom link's on the
Everything shut
So-
off.
Oh, they do.
But,
Yeah, there's the regional open space, brother, that,
Scott, who's done with his presentation.
they're not.
we talked to him.
Hi, who just joined? Hello?
they're on mute.
Lights.
That one, no, one
That's
below.
us. That's on you.
Well,
We have an.
There they go.
I like the idea, but I'm not sure. I think we're gonna need a project to work, to build funds around, but
The other thing I was thinking of was, as far as the land use tax percentages. We could go up in little increments and have it be like seemingly non-invasive, just say, hey, we just want 5% more this.
we would have to do that every,
Hey, we just want another 5%.
yeah, we could.
And over time, that it could boost back up, and we'd be doing our part for at least the future.
Yeah.
Concom people. So maybe something to think about, little increments.
Okay. Any more on that topic?
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
yeah, second. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
So-
Have dinner now.
Yeah.
Yeah.